Vast hordes of Americans are being forced out into the streets as the middle class disintegrates, Michael Snyder reports. How many people will be sleeping in homeless shelters, on the streets, or in their vehicles where you live tonight? This is the sort of question that not a lot of us like to think about, but the truth is that homelessness is growing at a very rapid pace all over the country right now. But if you have lots of money, life probably seems pretty good to you at the moment. You may eat at a different restaurant every night, and you may be one of the approximately 10 million Americans that currently own a second home. Our leaders made the wealthy even wealthier by pumping trillions of dollars into the system in recent years, but as the cost of living has soared, the poor have gotten even poorer, and the middle class has steadily disintegrated. So now the gap between the wealthy and the rest of the nation is larger than ever, and that is creating a tremendous amount of tension in our society. In California, vast hordes of homeless people sleep in the shadows of multi-million-dollar homes every single night. And even though California has spent a whopping $17.5 billion on homelessness during the last 4 years, the homeless population in the state has just continued to grow. California has spent a stunning $17.5 billion trying to combat homelessness over just 4 years, but in the same time frame, from 2018 to 2022, the state's homeless population actually grew. Half of all Americans living outside on the streets, federal data show, live in California. Across the country, homelessness is on the rise, but California is adding more homeless people every year than any other state. More than 170,000 unhoused people now live here. And just think about that number for a moment. There are 170,000 homeless people in just one state. And those are the ones that they can actually count. They are many more that have not been found yet or that don't want to be counted. We've also learned that family homelessness in the United States is surging. Family homelessness in the U.S. is on the rise in an alarming sign of how the increasing cost of goods and even tightening housing supply and the end of the most pandemic era benefits are putting pressure on Americans. Some 72,700 people in families with children were experiencing homelessness in 20 of the largest cities in the nation as of January, a 37.6% jump from a year before, according to an analysis of data provided by jurisdictions. In New York, that figure shot up by 2/3, while Chicago, the District of Columbia, and Fort Worth, Texas, also saw outsized increases. I thought that Joe Biden was fixing the economy, so why has that number gone up by 37.6% in just 1 year? Something is not adding up. A 28-year-old single mother in Washington, D.C., named Mercedes Millings, does not have a home for herself and her 4 children. Since she is so close to the White House, perhaps Biden and his family would be willing to take her in. Among those homeless in the nation's capital is Mercedes Millings, a 28-year-old single mother of 4. She delivered packages and worked at a pizza shop during the pandemic, but experienced homelessness during that time and bounced between living in her car and staying with family. She and her children have been living in a Salvation Army transitional housing program with some 25 other families for most of this year, and Millings is taking personal finance and workforce development classes, but one big obstacle is stopping her from getting a job. She gave birth to her youngest at her mother's home during the pandemic and never received an official birth certificate, and without it, she's unable to sign her daughter up for child care. There are countless others just like her. They would love to have homes, but housing costs have simply become way too high. As I mentioned yesterday, an unused space next to a laundry room that had been converted into an apartment in one building in New York City will run you $2,300 a month for rent. And actually, purchasing a home is now out of reach for tens of millions of Americans. The Fed hasn't made certain of that by hiking interest rates so dramatically. Earlier today, I came across a tweet that shared some mortgage math that is just stunning. New mortgage math is brutal. Say you buy a $1 million house with 200,000 K down payment at a 7% rate, that's $800,000 mortgage. Over the first 3 years you pay $193,000, that's $5,322 a month. After those $193,000 payments, your $800,000 mortgage is now at $774,500. You paid $166,000 in interest and $25,500 in principal. Ouch. Of course, housing costs are not the only thing that's going up. According to Zero Hedge, auto insurance rates are going up by double-digit percentages all over the nation. The Wall Street Journal found Allstate had jacked up car insurance premiums by 40%. In Georgia, Nationwide Mutual Insurance has increased insurance rates by 32% in California, and State Farm has bumped rates in New York by 11%. The reason is that many of these insurers have experienced significant losses over the last several years, an indication premiums will continue to rise well into 2024. If you're still making the same amount of money that you did 2 or 3 years ago, you're rapidly falling behind. The cost of living is not going to slow down for any of us, and if you can't keep up, that is too bad for you. In such an environment, many middle-class Americans find themselves falling into poverty, and many poor Americans are finding themselves out in the streets. All over America, giant homeless encampments are sprouting like mushrooms. Here's just one example. One of California's famous wine regions has a government-sanctioned homeless encampment set up near the local courthouse, Fox News Digital has learned. Photos taken on Sonoma County's administrative campus in Santa Rosa show blue tents lining a parking lot where up to 100 homeless individuals can live. Leaders in Sonoma County, located in Northern California's famed wine region, approved the taxpayer-funded homeless camp this year after a shelter crisis declaration. The administrative complex is home to various offices such as Sonoma County Human Resources, the County Registrar, Superior Court of California, and District Attorney's Office. If you still have plenty of money, you may not care what's happening to everyone else. For now, those with lots of cash are living a high life, but that won't last for long. A day of reckoning is coming for the wealthy, and they will deeply mourn as their tremendous wealth is wiped out. During these early stages of this economic crisis, it will be the poor that are hit particularly hard, but great pain is eventually coming for those at the top of the food chain too. And this is by Michael Snyder. He says about the author, my name is Michael, and my brand new book entitled End Times is now available on Amazon. In addition to my new book, I've written 6 other books that are available on Amazon, including 7-Year Apocalypse, Lost Prophecies of the Future of America, The Beginning of the End, and Living a Life That Really Matters, commissions earned. When you purchase any of these books, you help to support the work that I'm doing, and one way that you can really help is by sending copies as gifts to family and friends. Time is short, and I need help getting these warnings into the hands of as many people as possible. I've also started a brand new Substack newsletter, and I encourage you to subscribe so that you won't miss any of my articles. I've published thousands of articles on the Economic Collapse blog, End of the American Dream, and the Most Important News. And the articles that I publish on those sites are republished on dozens of other prominent websites all over the globe. I always freely and happily allow others to republish my articles on their own websites, but I also ask that they include this about the author section with each article. The material contained in this article is for general information purposes only, and readers should consult licensed professionals before making any legal, business, financial, or health decisions. I encourage you to follow me on social media, Facebook and Twitter, and any way that you can share these articles with others is definitely a great help. These are such troubled times and people need hope. John 3:16 tells us about the hope that God has given us through Jesus Christ. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. If you have not already done so, I strongly urge you to invite Jesus Christ to be your Lord and Savior today. And this is on the Economic Collapse blog by Michael Snyder. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Please support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.